All right, welcome back to Cyborg Pirate, and check us out on cyborgpirate.com. So here we are for episode 2 of replacing the glued-on seals with the Cytec quick cuffs and quick neck. So this particular bottle type seal right here, again, you can see they've kind of started to wear out, starting to crack, do a number of things. So some things you're going to need, you're going to need some scissors. So what the quickest way to do it is you're just going to cut down that seam. Don't cut the dry suit itself. And then you're just going to start tearing the seal off from there. And this can take a little time to do this, so once we do that, we'll start speeding this camera up and get through it so that you can see what it is. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to pull right down there to the inside, and you can see the tape right here that they used to help hold that seal in place when they were gluing it on. All right, so I'm gonna speed this up and we'll get right back with you. All right, so as you can see, we got the tape off the inside and we're down to just the tri-lam suit here. And on the outside, we have some of the old seal that were from the seals prior to the ones we just took off. So there's some glue and some residue. So what we're gonna actually do is we're gonna go over to the wire wheel on the bench grinder and we're gonna take all this material here off. Now, I've seen some people try to do this with a Dremel tool. I don't advise that. Dremel tools get really hot and you're going to either burn a hole in your suit or compromise the integrity of this tri-laminate. So I don't recommend that. But what I do use is I use an 8-inch bench grinder with a wire wheel on it, and I will grind that off. Make sure you have your hand protection with gloves, eye protection, and that you are doing this in a safe location. But yes, we're gonna get all this other latex here off and bring this right down to the tri-lam itself. Again, be careful not to go through the suit. They're actually pretty rugged, but you don't want to burn holes in your suit. So we're gonna speed that up and we'll be right back. All right, now you can see we've pulled all of the old seal off, and we still have some seal that was from the seal prior to that was on there. All the tape is off the inside. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the new wrist cuff and fit it to the inside of the suit. This may require some cutting of your suit. You want to do this in small portions of it because you obviously don't want to get it to where it's not a good fit. So basically fold over the new cuff that's going to go inside the suit, and you can see that it's not going to, the actual wrist on the suit itself is not going to be big enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim it off, and I can already tell you by the size of it, I am probably just going to run it right along the back side of this rubber right here. Keep us have to even shave any of that off. So take your scissors. You might need a little more aggressive pair of scissors, but you want them to be sharp. You want these edges to be as straight as possible. Now, again, I'm taking a lot of this off. I don't recommend cutting this much off on your suit unless you are sure that's where it's going to be. So we're going to take this off here, right behind the old latex. As you get to the seam here, this is where you might need a little more aggressive pair of scissors. I don't know if these surgical scissors will go through this, but we're going to give it a shot. Hey, look at that. We're going to get through it. Okay. So keep going with your, keep it as a straight line as possible. We're lucky because we're using the latex itself from the previous setup to actually, sorry about that, All right. Gets through some of that old drysuit glue that was on there from a... All right, so that's trash. Now we'll take our new seal, make sure it's gonna fit, which at this point we really hope it does, and get it in there. It should be a nice snug fit, and look at that. Perfection. That's exactly what we want to do there. So that's how that's going to fit in there. We'll go ahead and get that other side done, and then we'll move on from there. All right, for this next portion of it, you're going to need some additional items. You're going to need a couple of thick plastic strips. I just take these and I cut these from a heavy-duty, hefty black plastic bag. You're going to need some masking tape. You're going to need your drysuit glue. You're going to also need rubbing alcohol or acetone. I actually prefer acetone, however, I don't have any in the shop today. So we're going to go with the rubbing alcohol, and that's just basically going to be to clean the surface areas so that you can get the glue to adhere correctly. You're also going to want some rubber gloves. Buy the cheap ones, buy a box of them, because you're going to go through a whole bunch of them. This glue part can get pretty messy. And then also you'll need the cuff rings to be prepared as well. So how this works is, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to rough this up with some sandpaper, and we'll do the same thing on the inside of the tri-lam here, and we'll apply a coat of glue both to the inside of the cuff and to the cuff ring itself. Before we do that, we'll put some masking tape around the outside of the sleeve, so when we turn this inside out, that we don't get the glue all over the exterior of our dry suit and look fairly disgusting. So basically, the seam in your suit could make things a little more difficult as to how far back you roll it, but you just basically want to be able to cover where that seal is going to go, and then also we're going to put the masking tape underneath it. So we'll speed the clock up here and we'll get some of that stuff done and get it prepared, and then we'll talk about it right before we get started. All right, so this next portion of it, as you can see, we have everything prepped, ready to apply the glue. They've been cleaned with alcohol and roughed up with the sandpaper. I just use a 120 grit. In fact, I just use a sanding disc, not on the grinder, because it gives you a nice firm piece of something to hold on to, and also to be able to rough that up a little bit. So hopefully you can see how rough that is. And did the same to the inside of the sleeves on the dry suit. Now, I also like to have some cardboard, so that you're not sticking everything to everything. That can happen very easily, and it gets very frustrating. So save yourself the time and the effort, and don't do it on your nice kitchen table, where certainly the missus will be very upset. So now we have our dry suit glue. And again, like I said, this can be very messy, so be careful how you do it. But we want to start prepping things to do. So that what I've found, it's easier, depending upon how much space you have to work, it's easier to do the cuffs first. And the reason behind that is because you can set them out of the way while you're working on the dry suit itself, and it doesn't, things don't get knocked around, and again, it's easier to not stick things to each other. Yes, the dry suit can be very difficult to work with, just because it's big and bulky, slides all over the place, and you're trying to work with one sleeve, the other sleeve's falling down, the body's falling down, the feet are kicking around on you, and you're dragging the legs everywhere. So it's just easier to start with the wrist seals. And you're going to want to do 2 coats on this. So the first coat is going to be let it cure, dry for about 30 minutes. Then you want to come back and put a second coat, and this is going to go on both sides, both the wrist cuff and also on the dry suit. And that way you're going to get a nice, good adhesion. And a nice little tackiness to it. So give this about 30 minutes. And I'm also going to do, well, I can do it right now. Now you want to, again, be careful on this side, because obviously the cuff's only going to go about 3/4 of an inch in. And so you don't need to paint the whole thing with it. Just about that much. And yes, I know I do the cuffs first, but I'm doing this in real time so that you can see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to do it out of order and finish it up. So normally I would have done the 2 cuffs first and then come back to the dry suit, but I want you guys to see what I'm doing. And just like any contact cement, you put it on both materials that are going to be glued together. This is why we have the masking tape on there, so if you get any runoff, it doesn't end up on the exterior of your suit and looks like it was glued together from the outside, because that's not what we like to do. We like to have a nice professional clean look, because let's face it, best way I've heard it said from one of my crew members, you got to look good doing it. So, and yes, this is a work dry suit, as we had mentioned in the description on the first video. This is the suit that I use for cleaning the bottom of boats. And so, but I still like to have things look with a professional look. All right, so we're gonna set this aside. I'm gonna speed this up, get the other 2 items done, and then that way you can, see, I got glue on myself, didn't use a finger, didn't use the gloves. But I'll speed this up and get the other ones going. All right, 30 minutes has gone by. We've got everything been glued. What I want to show you here is the reason that we do 2 coats. The contact cement, depending upon the material that you're putting it on, obviously it hasn't soaked into the rubber here. However, the Tri-Lam suit, you can see that that glue has soaked in there. So what we want to do with that is we want to apply that second coat. This one's still just a little bit wet. This was the last one I did, so will still be the last one I get to when I come back. But we're going to apply the second coat to it, and we're going to give that about 5 minutes to cure on the second coat, and then we'll come back after that. But with the second coat, with that 5 minutes, you want it to just be tacky, and then we'll start. All right, so here's where we're going to take these. We're going to turn these inside out, or right side out, and we're going to start placing our seals in there. As you can see, the cuffs, we've already put the plastic on there to help ease getting it in. And this is where you really want the gloves, because you can see my fingers are touching everything. Go ahead and pop this tape off so everything's nice and straight, nothing's crimped. And we take the first cuff. Now make sure you look at it. It goes in the right way. So we want that little lip on the outside, right? So push it together, get it ready to go in there. Seeing right here, if you didn't have that plastic on there, you'd be in a world of hurt, because the contact cement's going to stick to itself. So this makes it easier to peel that and get it right where you want it. Now you want to have just a little bit of this cuff sticking out here. This is where our brayer comes in. Take out the wrinkles. Because they're in there. All right, so the next portion of this is we're going to take the seam tape that we've talked about. What this is basically it's going to cover up, you know, like here's the glue that was the imperfection from the last seal that was on there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make that, and then you can also see where the line that I cut wasn't perfectly straight. So this is kind of your cover and concealment to make it look nice. Once everything is pressed, you've got all the wrinkles out of it and everything is done, you can still make it look very pretty and nice from past people's mistakes with the glue, and also from not cutting a straight line, that type of stuff. So what we're going to do is actually put this right here, right along that ledge, and give us that nice professional look that goes with it. So the way that we do this, in order to keep it clean and nice, we're going to have it sit right here like this, and then I'm going to run masking tape around the base of it here, apply the glue to the tape itself, and then we'll have a nice clean look to the dry suit. It also does give a little bit more sealing capability, but that's really not what it's for. It's more the decorative look. All right, so we'll get started on that and we'll be back with you. All right, so as you can see, much nicer, cleaner look to them. Just a little one seam that's there, but a much nicer, clean, professional look. Covers up any imperfections and have a nice little setup there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to let these cure a little bit longer, and then we're going to insert the actual wrist seals and show you how to put those in. All right, so like I said, next we're going to put in we're going to let these cure, and then we're going to put the wrist seals in, the actual silicone themselves, and then what we'll do is we'll get started on the neck, and we'll do that demonstration for you too. That'll be another video coming up. Thanks for checking us out. Cyborg out.